quick question to kick us off. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
So I have a couple places. My TikTok followers always ask me this question, so I would just went ahead and dedicated a travel bucket list because I feel like the world is so huge. There's so many new experiences and things to experience, so I can't limit it down to one place. So on my travel bucket list, I'm going to start with inside of the United States.
Okay.
I've never been to New York City before. I know you went to college in New York.
Yeah.
Did you go to the city?
I went to upstate New York. I've been in the city a couple times, but never actually hung out in the city.
Got you. Yeah, I want that authentic New York City experience, trying street food, going to restaurants, going to Times Square, seeing the billboards, all of that. I want to do all the touristy stuff, going to the parks. I feel like New York is a very creative place, and I just want to immerse myself into that culture. And I also saw a TikTok today about someone going on the NYC metro, and they thought it was the funnest experience because they're not from a place where they have a train. And we live in Tennessee. We're not from a place where we have a metro either, so that experience is pretty cool for us. Okay, and then next, Hawaii. Hawaii is probably the number one place I want to visit inside of the United States. Yes, it's not on the main island, but it is a part of the United States. But I feel like you also get a out of country experience because it's its own little island vibes, and I don't know, it just seems like a pretty cool place. One of my favorite Disney movies is Lilo and Stitch.
Oh yeah.
So shout out to Lilo and Stitch. Shout out to Hawaii. That's another place. And then California. We've been to California a couple times, right? We've been.
Yeah, we've been to San Diego. Y'all been to San Diego.
Yeah.
I've been to San Francisco.
Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim as well.
For Disney. Actually, I think did you go on that trip?
Yep, I was on the trip.
Got you. Where we made that video and it went viral of Dad.
Oh yeah. On the roller coaster.
On the roller coaster. Yeah, that was funny. But I've never been to LA before. That's one part of California I haven't been to, and it's just a pretty cool city, especially if you're a creative person. I feel like there's a lot of creative people there. There's Hollywood there. There's the Monica Pier and all that fun stuff. So I feel like it would be a cool vacation destination. Any place in the United States that you want to go to?
Shit, you really thought through this one.
I did.
For me, I feel like we've been to a lot of places, a lot of different states already, but like Jordan said, I guess more of the touristy spots. So definitely Hawaii is definitely on the bucket list. LA would be pretty dope.
Have you been to Las Vegas before?
I haven't been to Vegas. So my brothers got to go to Vegas. I was hurt at the time and had my ankle messed up, and I didn't want to be a bum on the trip. I couldn't even walk, had stitches in my ankle, so I didn't go on that trip. So yeah, I'll put Vegas on that bucket list as well. I got some teammates, actually, former teammates that live in Vegas, so I might have to hit them up.
That's a cool part about having friends from all over, because I feel like we both have friends from all over. You went to Cornell, and Cornell's international college, and my college was a small college, but it was known for having international student body. So yeah, we have friends from all over the world.
100%. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me on in the States bucket list. But what about outside the States?
All right,
traveling different countries.
Got you. So the first place I want to say is London, and I feel like London's kind of a cheat because it is a completely different culture from the United States.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about international travel and you're from the United States, Canada and London are kind of all right, But I've never been before, and I think it's pretty cool, and I like to practice my British accent alone in my room sometimes. I'm not going to do it for the podcast. I don't want to embarrass myself, but London's my top place. And then Tokyo. I feel like Tokyo would be a super dope place. You want to go to Tokyo as well?
Oh, yeah. We was talking about this in the office the other day. There's literally no place like Tokyo. It's a completely different world. Just the digital innovation and just the people in general, the food, the culture, how much they respect American culture is pretty interesting within itself as well. But Tokyo is definitely on the bucket list for out of the country.
For sure. And I heard Tokyo has those vending machines. I want to try out the vending machines. They also have the real life Mario karts that you can drive around the city.
Yeah, that right there too. Yes, sir.
And then one thing else I heard is that Tokyo has really clean streets.
Extremely clean. Very nice people and culture in general. Same thing, another place I want to go to is Singapore. Ooh. I heard Singapore is very beautiful as well. And they're extremely clean. You can get fined $2,000 for littering, or you can even go to jail for littering. They take that stuff very seriously. So that's also like pretty interesting. Like those places, how seriously they take taking care of their environment.
It's interesting to hear other cultures compared to our culture because, like in the United States, like New York, for instance, is known for being stinky and garbage and smelly. But other like Tokyo is a huge city, and they say it's clean. Like it's just interesting to see that culture versus like American culture.
For sure, 100%. But so go ahead, kick us off. Welcome to the I Found a Friend podcast, where we're your friends helping you navigate life's journey. Today's your host, Eric Diggs.
And Jordan Diggs.
Mr. John Diggs, he's out of town right now on a trip, so he wasn't able to hop in the studio this week, but we're going to be talking to you guys today, just the two of us.
For sure. It's interesting to see like the different brother dynamics because like you and John started off doing like a solo episode between you two.
Yeah.
So we've never had like the Eric and Jordan dynamic or the Jordan and John dynamic, so it should be pretty interesting for sure.
Oh, yeah, you guys will be getting a wide variety of the Diggs bros for sure throughout this time. So we was really getting right into it, honestly, throughout that first question, just talking about travel. We want to talk to you guys about the benefits of traveling, why you should travel. So a question I want to ask you, Jordan, is, okay, let's say I've never been outside of my state. Convince me why I need to go outside of my state.
I would say that going out of your state is unnecessary because it broadens your horizon. Until you see something different outside of where you've been raised, you don't know that there is different, right? Like we grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a beautiful city and it's like booming and people from all over are coming. But like, like all we knew was Nashville, Tennessee and our small bubble of friends. But when you travel, it just changes your mindset. You realize that there's different people, different cultures, so much new things to experience in the world. And I feel like some people, they get depressed when they stay in the same spot for too long because they're like, oh, there's nothing more to this world, to my life than what I know. But when you realize how big the world is, the opportunities just seem limitless.
I agree with you 100% on that one too, because a lot of people think that where they are is all there is and there's no way out. And if you've never been outside your state, I want to tell you that the world is bigger than where you are. It's crazy to think that there are people who are literally American citizens and you know nothing about them, but in a different country, they're the man or they're the girl. Like they are the guy. You can be popular in another country and not be known in America. And that to me is really cool.
That's what I found out about fame is like the United States is only such a small, well, it's not a small country, but you know what I mean? Like you could not be anyone relevant in the United States, but like if you're relevant in China, that's millions of people more in China than in the United States. So you could be more famous, if that makes sense. Yeah. Or even just like with Apple, I was talking to someone who's not from the United States and they were just saying like Apple, she's from the Bahamas and she was saying that Apple products are only popular in the United States. Like everywhere else, they use different types of phones. They use different type of apps. It's just so interesting.
Yeah, I feel like Android's actually bigger worldwide, honestly.
Yeah, and we always talk about the Androids. Today we were at lunch and we were just talking about Androids. Someone was trying to send a video to an iPhone, so like the video was so clear on the Android, and when they sent it to the iPhone, it was like blurry, fuzzy, like pixelated. It was with Jasmine. Jasmine was like, "What is this?"
It's really whack, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
But it's interesting that a lot of people get so consumed with only what they can see, and it's literally like a whole nother world, like a whole nother culture, whole different customs. And to have different point of views, different perspectives, it just broadens your horizon as a human in general because you get to experience life from a different angle. And that leads to new creativity, new ideas, and can make you more well-rounded in general.
That's so true. And I think being well-rounded is key because in life, you're going to come across so many different people. And I feel like you got to know how to interact with different people. And traveling is one way you learn that, or even just talking to people outside of your country or outside of where you were raised. As I said, my college was very international, so I had the opportunity to talk to people from all over the world, from like different parts of Africa, from India, from Japan, from Europe. It's really cool. And when you sit down and talk to people and just talk to understand, you learn so many cool things that you wouldn't necessarily have known just about the way of life and how it's different. Like, for instance, this blew my mind, but one of my friends, she's Ethiopian. And she was like, we were doing like a cooking night with a friend group. So we were just cooking food. And she was like, yeah, I've never cooked before because my maid at home used to cook for me. And I was like, what? You have a maid? She was like, well, in Ethiopia, it's something that's common and you don't necessarily have to be rich. She's like, I know in the United States, like having a maid seems like you have all the money in the world. But with Ethiopia, it's like pretty common to have like a maid or someone working in your house for you. And that's like something I never knew. But just by interacting and just like having fun and talking to people from different cultures, like I learned so much.
You know, it's crazy. So we've been to a few different places within the States and without,
Yeah, let's
and
talk about it.
outside the country. So,
What was our first place that we traveled to?
I don't remember. I feel like everybody does like that family vacation to Disney World.
Yeah, but like out of the country, what was our first
Out of the
trip?
country, was it Chile?
No, it was Spain.
Oh, it was Spain first?
Yeah,
Okay,
Spain was
so we've been to
first.
Spain, we've been to Chile, we've been to I've been to Greece. Went there with my pops last year. Where else?
Italy.
Italy.
That's the only three I've been to out of the country.
I think those are the four big ones. But you know what's something that's so cool is that every time we go to a different place or a different country, like they speak multiple languages. Like we run into people that speak 4, 5, 6, 7 different languages. You come in America, 90% of people only speak English.
I feel like Americans have this sense of entitlement. Like, this is my language and I expect you to understand it. And it's even just like kind of with like how the world is structured, like per se, the United States is like one of the top countries. So we like feel entitled. But yeah, it's just crazy how other people from other countries, they don't only speak English, they speak their own language from their country and they speak two more like that. I think that's pretty cool. And it's like normalized. Like in the United States, we're like, whoa, you speak multiple languages? That's crazy. But they're like, yeah, it's normal. It's like our way of functioning. And like from traveling to different places, you see like it's necessary for them to speak
Oh
these
yeah.
different languages, especially in Europe. Because if you look at Europe, it's all these tiny countries that are like surrounding each other, right? So you have to be able to communicate with different languages because like you're so close to a different country.
Yeah, and it's like it's literally like it can be the difference between you getting business or not being able to expand your business. You knowing multiple languages, you knowing how to communicate effectively with multiple cultures. Like you can literally take off and expand your business across the world. Like you can have a worldwide view in things that you do and your ideas. You don't have to just limit yourself to what you see in America and what you see on social media that is catered towards your community or your culture. Like it's bigger than that. And so like you can start thinking of ideas that reach a worldwide audience. And I think that's pretty cool to be able to see that the world is bigger than where I'm from. But it's also pretty cool going to different cultures and seeing the respect they have for America. Like when we was in Italy, like a guy's like, please, like I've been wanting to go to America for so long. Like, can we get you? Like, I want to go to America.
Is that your Italian accent?
It's not my Italian accent. I thought about doing an Italian accent. I was like, nah, it's not gonna be good. I just wanted to do a different person talking.
Yeah.
This is not an Italian accent. But he was really just appreciative of going to America and was excited to meet us because we're from America. And then the sad reality of it is, it's like, man, like if you was to go to America, it wouldn't be all that, it's hyped up to be, especially with you being an immigrant and not really understanding the culture. So it's like, man, I would felt more accepted in other cultures than I did in my own. So that's just an interesting experience I've had as well, traveling.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a controversial statement, but I would say traveling is is a luxury, but also a necessity. Like I feel like everyone needs to travel, and you might be like, okay, well, I don't have like the funds to do that. Like, how do you make that work? And I always say like, if it's important to you, just like start like setting aside, a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, because as I said, like when you do travel, it can change your life. It can change your perspective. There's so many business owners who I've heard who would be like, yeah, I just went to Italy and it inspired this business. I was listening to a podcast. It's like how I built this.
Yep.
And they were just explaining, like this one lady, she built a shop off of Etsy. I think she was selling candles, but like she went to Italy and there was this like certain food that she ate that inspired her to make a candle like based off of her favorite place in Italy. So it's just like, you never know what can happen on your travels. And then like, even with one of my friends, her mom is from Ecuador and her dad is from the United States, but her dad went on a trip. He's an archaeologist. He went on a trip and her mom was his tour guide on the trip. She didn't even speak English and he didn't speak Spanish. So they barely could communicate. But like little did they know they ended up getting married from that interaction of just him traveling outside of his comfort zone. So I don't know. It's just pretty cool what traveling can do. All right, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What would you say is like your preferred way of traveling? Do you think you like traveling alone, with friends, with family? What do you think?
Honestly, like with us being blessed to have the opportunity to travel multiple places, because our dad, when we was like 9, 10, around that age, he started working part-time at the airport, and that allowed us to start being able to travel for discounted prices outside the country and travel for free within the country. So he became very intentional about pushing us to go different places with him and my mom. And that allowed us to experience a lot of different experiences. But now I know like a lot of my friends haven't had those opportunities. So because of that, I value traveling as a group more than just traveling as an individual, because there's something cool about, traveling with somebody and experiencing first things together at the same time and seeing somebody else's horizon and viewpoint and perspective expand and be inspired. And so I definitely would want to travel with people.
For sure. And like this doesn't even have to mean like outside of the United States, where you can even be talking about traveling within the United States. Right. I would say like any trip we've taken has been like probably one of the most memorable parts of our life or of that year. Like even with the JD Boys when we met them, that was at a trip to Atlanta.
Yep.
And I don't know, there's just something about taking trips with people that just makes that experience so memorable, because it's just like something new. And when something's new, you remember it more.
100%. I've been saying 100% a lot. I don't know. I guess that's my word for the day.
That's funny.
What's some tips for traveling like other states or other countries?
All right. So we're the traveling experts. Like we've been in and out of airports. We've taken multiple road trips. But let's talk about airports. What are the travel tips? One is, I would say, you don't have pack light. Like you can pack light. Yep. And what I mean by that is like you don't need to take 2 huge suitcases. That slows you down. If you can fit your stuff into a duffel bag and then a backpack, you're good to go.
First of all, like if you've never traveled, fly. If you've never flown anywhere or traveled throughout an airport, I think it's important to look up what you can and can't bring. You can't bring the same things that you would on a road trip on an airplane. Like you can't bring certain like hair products or certain stuff when it's above a certain fluid ounce. You have to be cautious of that. Certain battery packs and things like that, you have to be cautious of what you're bringing. So, because then they'll just take it at the airport and literally take out your bag and throw it in the trash. And then you're going to be sitting there pissed. Like, dude, this costs a lot of money. Like, why are you throwing this away?
You know what's funny? One of my last times flying, because like Eric and I went to college out of state, so we used to fly back home and then like back to our college campuses. I thought I could get away with it, right? So you can only take 3 fluid ounces of like liquid products with you in your bags. And I had one that was 5 fluid ounces, but like I had like used it halfway, and I was like, surely they're not gonna.
Oh, even with the halfway used.
Halfway used, he pulled it out, and I think being stopped in the security line is one of the most annoying and low key embarrassing things, because like when you're in the security line, first of all, you're probably standing there for like 15 minutes to almost an hour, depending on how long that line is. You're just ready to go. You're just ready to get through it, and when they stop you, it like holds other people back and it like stops you from your plan. So yeah, he pulled me out of line. He was like, man, I got to search your bag. So when they search your bag, they unzip it and they just go through all of your clothes that were like neat. Like I'm really neat. And like, they're all like perfectly placed in like the exact location I want to. He was just like ripping through it just to take out the bottom. Like, all right, you can't use this. I was like, all right, well, that is what it is. But yeah, what are some other things people need to know about traveling?
If you are traveling, like even traveling within the states and stuff like that, like driving, it is going to be cheaper like to travel as a group. You can rent out a van, split the cost of that, split the cost of gas, get an Airbnb. So it's a lot cheaper than you just getting a hotel by yourself. So just like little things like that help make it more affordable if you're looking for ways to travel. Another big thing is if you're going to travel outside the country, first of all, everybody needs to get their passport. Just go ahead and get it right now. Even if you don't have any plans to travel, you just want to have that just so you have the opportunity to go out the country. Because when that moment comes up, the last thing you want to be like is, oh, I don't have my passport, so I can't go. Like, go ahead and get that. But secondly, when you travel outside the country, it's important to do some research on the other countries like culture and rules and regulations and understand that, because once you're in a different territory, American rules are not supreme. Like going back to the Singapore example of how they give you a fine for littering or you can go to jail for that. There's a teenager that, threw a piece of trash on the ground. Somebody said something about him to get it. He gave him attitude like a typical American would. They took him, put him in jail as a teenager, and then they end up giving him a slight lashing before releasing him. But again, you're not in America, so you can't come with that sense of entitlement. You have to understand the culture that you're going into, the rules and regulations, and that's huge to research.
Yeah, and it could be like, it's important to research because you always want to respect where you are. You never want to be disrespectful or offend anybody, and it can be so easy to offend people and you not even know it. Like, for instance, I read in which I'm not sure, I might need to fact check this, but I read in the book one time that like in China, it's actually, they want you to burp during your meal because it shows that you're like satisfied and that you love what you eat. Like, but when you burp in the United States, it's kind of considered rude and like, unpleasant. But like in China, like that's something that they prefer you to do. So like just looking up small things like that is very important. Also, like this is not a necessity, but it can help. Is maybe try to learn a little bit of that language, especially if you've kind of been studying in school, maybe like freshen up. Because like a lot of places you go, they will speak English depending on the part you go to. But there's some places and some people who don't speak English, and it's just very helpful if you can know a little bit to kind of help you communicate, or download travel apps. There's different apps that help translate for you in the moment. So those are very useful. And like when you're traveling, you're probably gonna be walking around a lot. This is getting down to like the nitty gritty, but like make sure you charge your appliances before heading out, because there's nothing worse than being lost in a country or a place that you don't know where you're at. It's so funny. I was laughing with Jasmine today because I told her, like, I'm so bad with directions. Like, I was in Nashville and I had my GPS on. I was like, where did I park my car? Like, I was like freaking out. I was like, I don't know where the car is.
That's crazy.
But I pinned the location. So use whatever is at your disposal and be smart. That's another key thing. Be smart. If you're in a new place, you don't know where you are. There's people who can spot tourists from a mile away and they want to take advantage of you, right? They want to get your money.
Especially the night from America.
Exactly. They want to steal from you, rob you. So it's just like, you got to be smart and like not just like leave your bag just like laying like, oh yeah, like no, you can't trust everybody. That's even in the United States, you can't trust everybody. So just like be smart. Head
on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings, who's around you. Can't say yes to everybody. Like in different cultures, like they're big on like selling you things, like walking up to you and asking you a question. And a lot of times they try to get you just like to grab it or to touch it or to hold it. And once they do that, they got you because they're going to try to guilt trip you or make you feel impelled to buy that product from them. But another thing, like when you're traveling, is to also just try to plan. Don't do a lot of spontaneous trips, especially when you're with people. A lot of people don't like to be super spontaneous. So if you know you're not the planner, like make sure you get somebody in your group that's good at planning stuff so you guys know what you're going to do every day.
Yeah, that's really important, especially when it comes to food. Like, let you be walking around for 3 hours and you're hungry, you didn't plan where you're going to eat, and you don't know. Yeah, people are going to be mad because, I don't know, it's just like important to plan those things. That's another thing about traveling, I would say, is like try new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. And even like with food, like I feel like in the United States, we can be very, I like to use the word entitled. Like, oh, I know what I like and I'm not going to try anything different. But like, first of all, it could be very rude if someone's trying to serve you something you don't want to try it. But second of all, you never know what you like until you try it. So like my parents always raised us to say, you try a little bit. And if you like it, get more. But if you don't like it, just don't eat the rest. But at least you tried it.
Oh yeah, that's huge right there. I love that. Like, be ready to try and experience new things. Don't come into a different place and expect to do the same things you was doing at home. Like, that's not the point of expanding and traveling to different parts of the country or different parts of the world. You need to open up and be willing to open up, because that's how you get the full experience. Even if you don't like it or didn't enjoy it as much as you thought you would, at least you could say, I tried that and I was open to that.
That's so true. And I feel like there's so many memories made when you try new things. Like, we were in Spain and they had steak, right? So we thought we were about to get like this fat chunk piece meat of steak. Instead, we got like this tiny, like thin sliver of steak, and it was pink. So me and my brother was looking at each other like, okay, what is this? We were like, who go try it first? So we all like kind of like cutting it up. We're like, okay, maybe it's good. We're gonna try it because as we say, like we'll try it. If we don't like it, we'll put it to the side. So we like all taste it, and it's like drenched in vinegar. We're like, oh nah, what is this? So we politely put it to the side. But yeah, I think like memories and moments like that are just like pretty cool, and you get to make those when you travel.
Another big benefit of traveling, I would say, is it gives you the ability to recharge yourself, recharge your mind, recharge your perspectives, recharge your drive for whatever you're chasing. A lot of times we get so caught up in trying to pursue something. We get so caught up in just our little bubble that it literally just drains us and drags us down. It's good to take a break away from it, go somewhere else. Don't even think anything about what you got going on for a week or two. And a lot of times you do that, you come back with this the renewed sense of energy, refreshed, and a new sense of perspective and new insights, and just looking at the problem just with a fresh mind and fresh eyes. I love like sometimes when I feel myself getting bogged down by the daily routines and daily things of life just in general. Like I like getting away. Like I was like, I just need to get away for a little bit. I'm too focused, too ingrained in here. I'm beating my head against a wall right now. I just need to get away and just let my brain just recharge. And you can't do that if you're just stuck in the same little bubble. You need to get outside of that bubble to get that recharge and that rest that you really need.
That's so true. Perspective is everything. As Eric was saying, you can be so zoomed in and looking at a problem like so like closely that you can't see the larger perspective. And I think that's like one of the biggest like mind blowing things that happened when I traveled. I don't know, like it was Spain, our first country that we went to out of the country. And going to Spain, I was like, yo, the world is so big. I don't know why it never hit me like the way it hit me. I was like, all those problems, like those friends and stuff, they're like thousands of miles away, and it like seeing everything that I was going through back at home seemed so big. But now that I'm in Spain, like it just feels like I don't know. Those like problems weren't as big as I was like making them out to be. So it really does change your perspective.
You know, it's crazy. Like a lot of people always complain about where they're at or they don't like this or that. But it's like if you don't like it, you really can just move and go somewhere else.
That's so true.
Like this world is so big, you don't have to stay stuck where you're at. And so we want to encourage you guys, if you haven't traveled, to get outside of your state. Go to a different state just to start out small. Then like definitely I want to encourage everybody to at least go to at least one country outside the US. I know a lot of people are afraid of going out the country or like, no, I'm never stepping out foot the US, but explore the world because there's so much out there to offer you. And that's a part of having a holistic approach to life is getting different perspectives and being able to be cultivated and be well-rounded as a human being because humans around the world have done some amazing things and you have the opportunity with airplanes, with boats and social media to experience these things. And so take full advantage of that.
That's so true. That's a good point because one way to travel if you haven't like if you don't want to take a plane is like through cruises. You can also take boats. But yeah, with that said, if you've been looking for a friend, you found one. Thank you for watching this episode of I Found a Friend podcast.